All right. Good morning, you guys. Today, we're going to be talking about finding the whole group when the fraction is known. And if you ever want to look in your books, we're going to go through the same examples, but you're going to be able to take notes and you're going to be able to understand it from teacher side of view. So the first thing, okay, when first example for lesson 71, Juan finished page 51. He was 3/8 of the way through his book. His book had how many pages? So when we look at this problem, the first thing I would always advise you to do is set up a diagram. And so it said that he finished page 51 and he was 3/8 done. And so just create a table: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we just add the 8. And so it says he was 3/8 done. That represented 51 pages. Now, to figure out how many are in every single box, it's just a simple division problem. You take 51 and you divide it by 3, and you get 1, 7. So this first group would be 17 pages. The next one would be 17 pages. So all of these have to do with 17 pages long. 17 pages. This represents 17 pages, 17 pages, 17 pages. Now I'm going to go fix the lighting. But then, if you have to figure out the total, it's just a simple multiplication problem. You take your 17, you multiply it by 8, and you get 56. Carry your 5. 1 times 8, 8 plus 5 is going to be 13. So 136 pages. And that's actually a total. So in these kind of problems, the reason why we set up diagrams is because there's numbers, and because majority of you are visual learners, it's really nice to be able to see this. So speaking of seeing things, we're going to change the coloring right now. So I'm going to use a white background. And right now, we're going to solve the same problem. It says that same problem could be solved by 3/8 P equals 51. And it said, all right, let's solve this equation. Now, if we try to solve this equation right here, what's happening between these two? Multiplication. What's the opposite? Division. So we're going to divide both sides by 3/8. If we divide both sides by 3/8, well, 1 divided by the next is just going to be 1, which is what we want. We always want to get the equations. If you don't know how to solve equations the best, look at my lesson investigation 7, and I'll help you out. Now, when you divide 51 by 3/8, we need to remember that 51 is actually over 1 in the first place. And so then you have 51 over 1 times, we got to multiply by the reciprocal, 8/3. And then we have the same exact problem. 3 goes into 51, 17 times. If you don't believe me, do it on the side. And then 17 times 8 is going to be your 56. 6. And then 136. So once again, 17 times 8 is going to be 136. You just put pages. So I know you've probably heard the phrase, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Same thing here. You can solve it by the equation, or you can solve it by the diagram. So then, if we check out example 3, we have a new thing. And I'm going to ask you guys to set up your diagram as I read it out loud. As Sakura went from room to room, she found that 3/5 of the lights were on. Once again, she found that 3/5 were on. Maybe pause right now and see if you could diagram that real quick. Next, it says 30 lights were off. How many lights were on? Well, right now, if you diagram it, hopefully you know that 3/5, you would draw 5. You always draw the denominator. So 3, 4, because that's the total. And then hopefully you know that these 3/5, they're on. Then obviously these would represent off. And then the other number we know, it says that 30 lights were off. So you know that these two boxes, between the two of them, there are 30 lights. Then look how easy this is. Oh, well, how do you figure out each box? Well, 30 divided by 2 is 15. So that means that 15 are every single box. Then when it says how many lights were on, you can just look at your diagram. Oh, well, 3 of them are there. So we take 15, if there's 15 in every single box, multiply it by 3, and we get 45 lights. And let's always make sure we're labeling correctly. 35 lights were on. Now look how easy that is when you set up a diagram like that. Let's try another one. Now, this is actually one of the letters, but we can check it out. And I'll read it out loud. Try to set up the diagram after I read it aloud. 3/5 of the students in the class are boys. If there are 15 boys in the class, how many students are there in all? Once again, this is your practice set A. So once again, 3/5 of the class are boys. So hopefully you know that that's boys. 3/5 of the class, that means that this is the total. If there are 15 boys, how many students are there in all? Right now, you also could set up a proportion. Right here, you know that there are 15 boys in all. 15 goes here. If you don't know how many students there are in all, put the X there. To be able to solve a proportion, 3 times what equals 15? Times 5, right? 5 times 5, that means that we're going to have 25 students total. Now, if you don't understand proportions another way, once again, diagram your statement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 3/5 that were boys. Obviously then, these 2 are girls. And it said that there are 15 boys. 15 divided by 3, because there's 3 sections, 5, 5, 5. Well, then that means there's 5 here, right? And that means there's going to be 25 students total. So that's what we have for the lesson. I'm asking that you guys do, if we take a look at the letters, I would like you to do C, all right? D relates to it. And then do your star. There's only 9 problems. So thanks for tuning in. Have a good lesson.